All right. Shalom, shalom. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kol Haloyim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachat Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who do well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that's scattered abroad, the Akim and the Akwath that's listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing that the lesson is edifying. It's the brother Shuab Amawan back at you with another lesson. And what I want to get into is this quick little lesson. This one will definitely be a quick little lesson. All right. Going into Moab, all right, which Moab, the Chinese, China going into the Moabites in the scriptures. Okay. Um, Let me play this video and then I'll grab some scriptures and that. All right.
It seems like China is light years in front of everybody. So Chinese scientists are developing a drug to extend human life. It seems like China is light years in front of everybody. So Chinese scientists are developing a drug to extend human life up to 150 years. You ain't hear what I just said? They are developing a drug to make you live 150 years. Chinese scientists just announced they're developing a new life extension drug after they successfully reverse aging in mice and made them live longer. And this isn't vitamins or sea moss or none of that. This is gene editing. They removed zombie cells, the old, useless cells that clog up your organ, and the mice started healing, moving better, aging slow. Some of them even live 30% longer. And here's where it gets crazy. The team said this treatment could push life expectancy to around 120 to 150 years. Do you understand what that means? We're talking about unlocking biological functions the human body has never accessed. We're talking about a lot of decisions that a lot of people will have the power to make. And this is for entertainment purposes only. But trust me, this ain't something that's going to be at CVS for $19.99. Imagine the rich living to 150. Imagine politicians living to 150. Imagine billionaires living long enough to buy every company, every resource, every piece of land twice. Meanwhile, look at the people that's struggling right now for just the 70 years that they have on this planet. And you know what's funny? Every time China makes a scientific breakthrough, a lot of people go quiet. This right here could change everything. Aging, healthcare, population, ethics, who controls what. So yeah, humans just might actually hit 150 in our lifetime. But the question is, who's getting the upgrade? Because life extension just ain't science, if you know what I mean. I know you know what I mean. I'm out. It seems like China is light years in front of everybody.
All right.
So Chinese scientists are
basically, all right, who does that remind you of at the end of the day? You see, that reminds you of Esau, man, because Esau always trying to play the role of he's God. And this is exactly what these devils was also doing. You got to remember, along with Esau, these other nations are all devils too, because they're always trying to conspire against you. You see, against you too. All right, you got Moab out here and Babylon the Great, and they sit here and they poison you all day long with their food. Jake loved Chinese food. They out there making, these snacks for you that are made out of glue, made out of plastic. These Chinese restaurants that they have, their rice is made out of plastic, made out of cardboard. They're constantly making lettuce and all types of different greens that are made out of actual plastics and dyes put together. There's a whole bunch of videos that's always circling around the web, with the nastiness that they be doing, man, on top of the filthy abominations that these devils also, eat. They eat nothing but abominated foods, man, things that are not in the Levitical law, you see, and then they'll try to feed it on to our people. You catch them people eating spiders, snakes, rats. That's what these people literally eat on a daily basis. Eating turtles and shit. That's all abominated food, man. So they just as filthy as Esau is, okay? And this devil, all right, wants to play the role of God also. You got China that think they're going to be next on the board, you see? But Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai is next. None of these other nations are going to rule next, okay? Esau was the last kingdom basically to rule, As the scriptures say, Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So Esau was going to be the last one to rule, and that's it. No other nation is going to rule after that. The only nation that's going to rule is the nation of Israel under Yahushai, you see? So with that being said, let me just grab the scripture real quick, and I'll pretty much make the point with that. All right, this is 2nd Ezra 15 and 46, and it says, "And thou, Asia, that art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and are the glory of her person." You see, they are partakers of the hope of Babylon. They want to be just like Babylon the Great. They want to be just like Esau, just like the white man. Okay, and you know, to the point where they're smart. Them devils is smart as hell, man. You know, because when you do go out there to China, you know, when you go out there to Ammon also, you know, they which is the Japanese, you know, they are literally you know, in the same page of trying to be smarter than Esau. You know, you go out there to Tokyo and shit, man, that looks like a whole Times Square with bright lights. You know, they try, but if not even better. You know, everything that they have built and technology wise is almost as good as Esau's, if not better. You see, but then they come and they sell all these things onto Esau. You know, everything that we have here made in America basically come from China. You know, so it says, "And thou, Asia, thou art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person." You see, because Babylon makes their money basically off of Ammon and Moabites products. You see, off of China's products. Okay, it says, "Woe be unto thee." So the Lord is saying destruction unto you also. Okay, it says, "Thou wretched, because thou hast made thyself like unto her." Like unto who? America, Babylon the Great. You see, again, America's everybody's cash cow. You see, so all the products that come to America come directly from China, and that's how China's so rich. That's why they're able to have the technology that they have. You see, and then they come and sell it on to us. Okay, so it says, thou hast made thyself like unto her, and has decked thy daughters in whoredom. Yeah, and you see that these women are also, all right, their women is just like the American women, and they have drinking the wine of their fornication. Let's grab that. All right, this is Revelation. All right, because you have Babylon the Great that has made these other nations drunk. Okay, let me grab it real quick in the blue letter. This is Revelations 17:1, and it says, "And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying, Come unto me, come thither. I will show thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." And this is talking about Babylon the Great, right? It says America being that great whore. All right. It says, "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication." You see, so all these other nations, all right, have literally followed after the ways of Babylon the Great. Okay, it says, matter of fact, that's the point right there. Okay, don't even got to go into it deeper. The point has been made. So the point was, let's read it one more time. "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication." So these other nations have went to bed with Babylon the Great, you know, in a metaphoric sense. All right, because this is the great whore. So all these other nations, all right, have slept with Babylon the Great, and this is why. Okay, just think about it in the sense of a woman. When these women are being whores, right, and they go out there and sleep with all these different men, they are what? They are retaining the DNA of these other men, and they have them in their body forever, basically. Well, it's the same thing. You see, this Babylon whore, all all right, America has slept with all these other nations. So these other nations have literally taken in the residue, the DNA of Babylon the Great. That's why when these people come from these other countries and they come to Babylon the Great, America, they end up being just like them, and they never return back to their countries, you see, because they end up acting like Americans. They act like Babylonians, and then they have customs in these other countries. So when they come back drinking with that same wine, you know, the families don't want to deal with them no more. You see, women that are, you know, decent women out there in Moab, right, or Ammon, as we're using them, you know, as we're speaking about them, they'll come with certain type of you know, certain type of caliber from those countries, right, in their ways and their customs. But then they come to Babylon the Great. Next thing you know, they're acting like lesbians. Next thing you know, they men is acting like, you know, go into the fagonometry, the same exact manner. You see that shit all the time out there in China. You got niggas that end up cutting off their rods out there, all right, and then they become what? They become women all of a sudden. And you see a lot of that happen in these other countries, because they have drank the wine and the wrath. I mean, Salakia, the wine and the fornication of Babylon the Great, meaning they have taken on the customs of America. You see? So it says, going back to second Ezra 15 and 47, it says, "Woe be unto thee, thou wretched, because thou hast made thyself like unto her," Babylon the Great, "and has decked thy daughters in whoredom." All right, and you see that. You see the Moabite women all of a sudden, they out here opening up a bunch of massage parlors, and what they doing in those back, you know, in those back rooms, man, giving you that whole happy ending. Okay, yes, thank you, thank you. You know, they come out here and they open up their shops and sell, you know, wicked ass wigs to you wiggy ass women. You see, they are those, you know, doing your feet, okay, which that's a spiritual thing, because that's what they ass is going to be doing in the kingdom anyway. As the scriptures say, you know, Moab is my wash pot, you know. But, you know, you see how they come over here and they make money, all right, off of our people, showing you that all these nations somehow, one way or another, try to make money off of Jake. You know, you go into these Middle Eastern countries and shit, you know, these Habibi Punjabi ass niggas, they come out here and what? They selling you liquor, you know, selling you gas, you know, selling you cigarettes and shit like that. You know, all these nations come out here to conspire against you to destroy you, Jakes, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Okay? So it says, "Woe be unto thee, thou wretched, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and thou hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee." You see, have always desired to be just like America, you know, committing whoredom just like the women do. And most of all, committing whoredom with that same philosophy, the same wine that Babylon feeds everybody else with. So they are partakers of that, okay? They are together in cahoots with each other, all right, to destroy, you see? And this devil wants to be like the white man. He wants to play the role of God, just like we just showed you in that video. Niggas trying to make people live, you know, to 150 years old. All right, when the Lord already has a life expectancy for mankind. You see, this is not like the ancient times when we was living to almost, you know, 1,000 years old, man. All right, as the world gets weaker, we have gotten weaker also, you see. But here it is, it's because of a punishment, because this world fadeth away. And here it is, they're trying to actually keep the things going, you see. So, continuing on, it says, "that thou might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. Thou hast followed her, that is hated in all her works and inventions." You see, her inventions and her works, Babylon the Great's devices, okay, and the works that they do, all right, they have followed them. So this is something typical that Esau would do, man. Trying to give, life expectancy to 150 years old, 200 years old, you know. You got Esau trying to make fucking time machines and shit, trying to go back in time so he could take back his birthright. These devils is doing the same thing, you know. You got Esau trying to touch the stars, right, and jump on these other planets, and you got China right behind them trying to do the same thing. So they're always in competition with each other, you know. It says, thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore saith Yahweh, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence. And that's why when you go look at China and Ammon, all right, Moab and Ammon, they always catching some straight hell in their countries, man, because that's the Lord bringing these exact things to them. Plagues, man, famine, you see. They always getting all these crazy ass earthquakes out there. You know, the things that they built are, become destroyed because the Lord is doing these things. These are punishments. And how much more when that time comes, man, that the Lord comes to judge all these nations, all the earth. Each and one of these nations going to have their own judgment they have to, they have to deal with when that time comes. And best believe the Lord going to destroy every single one of these nations. Okay? So it says, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood. So like this damn hair. It says, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence to waste thy houses with destruction and death. You see? And the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower, and the heat shall arise that is sent over thee. Yeah, they're going to catch nuclear missiles also. Okay? Thou shalt be weakened as a poor woman with stripes, and as one chastised with wounds, so that the mighty and lovers shall not be able to receive thee. Would I with jealousy have so proceeded against thee, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. If thou hast not always slain my chosen, exalting the stroke of thine hands, and saying over their dead, when thou was drunken, set forth the beauty of thy countenance. The reward of thy whoredom shall be in thy bosom. Therefore shalt thou receive recompense. You see? And as the scriptures tell you what, man? It's a righteous thing to recompense those that trouble thee, man. You see? So the Lord's going to, give it to them also. They're going to receive it 100-fold also. The same way Esau's going to get it, they also going to feel it too. They're going to have to drink of that cup also. Okay? They're going to be rendered onto them double. All right? For the things that they have done to our people, man. And for you trying to play the role of God also, just like Esau does, man. You see? It says, like as thou hast done unto my chosen, saith the Lord Yahweh Shai, even so shall Yahweh do unto thee, and shall deliver thee into mischief. Okay? Give me 1 second. Yeah. It says, the children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. The city shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field. Okay? So they're going to feel the same exact type of things, man. They're going to go through famines and pestilences also. You see? It says, thou as unhappy, Salakia, they that be in the mountains shall die of hunger and eat their own flesh and drink their own blood for very hunger of bread and thirst of water. You see, and they're going to go through the same type of things we're going through, man. You see, you have to understand that the Lord is going to lift up these curses off of our people and put it on these other nations. Okay, let me grab that real quick. This is Deuteronomy 30:7. And it says, and the Lord Yahweh, thy power, will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee which persecuted thee. And all these nations had their hand in the cookie jar when it came to our slavery, man. They all had a piece of Jake, man. All right, of Jacob and Salakia, Judah and Israel together at the end of the day. Because remember, we're all pressed together in this place, man. All right. So they have to reap what they sow also at the end of the day. Okay. Let me just leave you with this one. This is Amos. Salakia. This is Amos 1. Salakia 2. All right. Since we're talking about Moab, right? It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Moab, okay? These Moabites. And it says, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he burned the bones of the king of Edom into lime. But I will send a fire upon Moab, and it shall devour the palaces of Kerioth, and Moab shall die with tumult, with shouting, and with the sound of the trumpet. And I will cut off the judge from the midst thereof, and will slay all the princes thereof with him, saith the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. You see? So they're going to cast judgment also, man. All right? Them and these other nations, all right? And the top one being what? Esau, man. Okay? And when you go into Moab, right? Just a little peace of mind so you know. Something that I always remembered, you know, reading it and learning of Moab, all right? The reason they look the way they are, right? And they look like they got Down syndrome, all right? With their eyes all to the side and shit, all right? That's something spiritual, man, because you have to remember, when you go into the Moab, they used to be called Mongolians back in the day. And when you look into that word Mongolians, it goes, the word etymology of that goes into them being, it goes into them being Down syndrome. Why? Because Shalom Malak Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah Barakatah. Because back when the time of Ammon and Moab, right, the daughters, right, they ended up sleeping with their father. You see, because they thought when Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, okay, they thought that they were the only ones left on planet Earth. You see, because they ended up going to the mountains, basically. You see, and what did they think? What ended up happening? You had Ammon, all right, and you had Moab, the daughters. They ended up sleeping with their father on the low. You see, the one day the one daughter slept with the father, and they got him drunk doing that. You see, and you know what happens when people today's society, you know, sleep within their family, their relatives, man. They end up coming out with Down syndrome, man. So that's just a peace of mind, so you know why they look the way they look. You know, and it's always something that stuck with me when I heard about that. It was very interesting, you know. So, hey, man, the same thing is going to happen to these damn devils at one point, man. All right. They're going to be destroyed along with the rest of these damn other nations, man. And especially Esau, because he wants to be just like Esau, and he wants to play God just like Esau. So, hey, Lord willing that you were edified. So with that being said, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kol Haloim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Ruchak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad, the Akim and the Aqua that was listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing that the lesson was edifying. To the next one, Shalom. Keep fighting the good fight of faith, enduring as good soldiers of Yahweh Shai. Shalom.